Hi, I'm Larry Puckett, the DCC guy. Today we're going to take a look at Econami decoders again. Last week we looked at the steam version. This week we're going to take a look at the diesel version of these economical SoundTraxx Econami decoders for the UK. And what I'm going to do is show you the same type of material as the last time, the specifications for the decoders, the type or the class of locomotive sounds that are included on the decoders for you. And then we will do an installation in this Great Western Railway's Flying Banana railcar. And these were powered by AEC diesel engines, the same ones that were used basically in London buses and were used on later versions of various of these self-propelled cars. So the sound package that is available covers a wide range of these locomotives or these rail cars, whichever you wish to call them. So let's go ahead and take a look at that information, give you some background on these decoders, what's available as far as sounds go, and then do an installation. Before we go on, I want to ask you to take a moment to subscribe to the channel. It's simple, easy, and free. All you have to do is hit that little red subscribe button, and when the little bell comes up, click on it and click all. Now, I do want to remind you guys that I will be attending the Warley National Train Show November 26th and 27th, and I will be, at a lot of the time, I will be hanging out at the DCC Concepts stand, and that's huge. It's something like about 54 feet long, I think they told me, so you should be able to find it. It's right inside the main entrance door to the exhibition hall. So you can look me up there, and if I'm not there, I'll be walking the aisles and looking for deals and new products, that kind of thing, as well as to meet people. So if you see me walking around, I'll be wearing this shirt or the Model Railroader shirt, unless it's just too cold in the hall to wear a short sleeve shirt. But feel free to come on up to me and introduce yourself, and we'll get to know one another on a more personal basis. So what we're going to do today is take a look at the Econami UK diesel version of their decoder. And instead of the ECO-100 that I showed you last time, this time I'm going to be using this guy right here. And this is their 21-pin version of their Econami decoder. And it has the same sounds and everything on it as the ECO-100 does. There also is an ECO-200 model, which is a little bit larger, like the ECO-100, has all the same sounds and everything, but it's rated at 2 amps for the stall current, whereas these are rated at 1 amp. So you get a little bit more power for your larger diesels and steam locomotives. Now, the other thing about this one here to remember, and also the 200, they're rated at 2 watts on the audio output. So be aware of that. Because of that, they recommend, SoundTraxx recommends, that you use a 2-watt speaker. But in a lot of cases, like the one I'm going to show you today, I don't have a 2-watt sugar cube speaker that's going to fit in this locomotive that we're going to look at and install the decoder in. As a result, what I do and what they will tell you will work, but they don't necessarily recommend, is that you go with setting the master sound volume at about 100 instead of 200 or 255, or that would be the maximum output. And at least that way you can keep the power output down to a safe level for both your decoder and your speaker, because you can blow your audio amplifier with using it with a 1-watt speaker if you don't make accommodations for that. And the reason that SoundTraxx doesn't recommend that as a standard practice is they're afraid that down the road people will forget, they'll reset it to a higher volume, and they'll blow the decoder in the speaker. So as long as you can remember what you've done and write yourself a little note somewhere, you can use these with a 1-watt speaker, but keep the volume set down, the master volume setting down to something like 100. And the reason I say that is a lot of these sugar cube speakers are only rated at about 0.7 or 0.8 watts. So you need to keep it under 100 in order to be safe. Okay, what I want to do now then is walk you through the specifications and the sounds available on the on this little decoder here, and then we'll move on and do the installation in the Great Western Flying Banana. So let's get started. Let's go ahead and take a look at the specifications on this decoder. And as I said, they're pretty much the same as they were for the ECO-100, and you know, all the features are there. They're all pretty much the same. So the main thing are the specifications over here. So it's a, as I think I said, it's a 1 amp maximum, just like the ECO-100. However, if you look at the audio amplifier output, that is a 2-watt audio output. So be aware of that. As I said, match your speaker to the output if you can. If not, keep that master sound volume down below 100 and you'll be safe. And like on the UK Steam version of the ECO-100, there are 40+ sound effects. It's all pretty much the same sound packages on all of these. So be aware of that. You know, you don't have to buy different decoders for different locomotives. They all have either all of the sounds for the steam or all of the sounds for the diesel. And you just set the CV to choose which one is active on your model. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the specific sounds here. So if you go down to the prime mover select section here in the middle, you'll see all of the different classes of locomotives that are covered here. So there's the electric class 20, the class 31, the 37, the 47, and finally the 6667. And then on the last one, the BR Derby class, the lightweight DMU, that particular one uses a AEC diesel engine. It's a slightly higher horsepower than was used in the original Great Western locomotives, or Great Western rail cars, whatever you want to call them. But the sounds are very, very similar. So what I did was I watched a YouTube video of one of these Great Western Flying Bananas with a factory installed sound decoder in it, and compared that to the sounds from one of these Derby class locomotives in use on one of the heritage railways. And to be honest with you, I couldn't tell the difference. So I'm pretty happy with the fact that these sound very, very close to what the original Great Western Flying Banana would have sounded like. Unfortunately, there's only one of these Flying Bananas left in existence, and it is stuffed and mounted in the, I believe the national, no, yeah, I think it's at Swindon, but I'm not sure. It's one of the museums has one, but you know, it's not in running condition. The only thing that I can think of that is actually missing in the sounds is the little ring type bell that the engineer or driver used to communicate with the guard back in the cars. So, you know, there's just not a lot of difference as far as these sounds go. Let's go ahead and I'll move on, and we'll start taking the locomotive apart, and I'll show you how to install the decoder in it. Okay, let's go ahead and start by getting the shell off, and it's really very easy. All you need to do is put your fingernails underneath the skirt here on each side, pull out, and it will slide right off. So that's the easy part, really. Now, get yourself a small Phillips head screwdriver, and right here on each end of the locomotive, next to the driver, there is a small screw. So all you do is back that out, set it aside, and at this end, like that, and then it will slide right off. But be aware that there's some black mastic under here holding the wires in place that can sometimes hold the passenger compartment in place as well. So sometimes it can be difficult to pop off, especially if it's not been removed in a while. I'm going to lift this one off very easily because I had it open a minute ago. And what I've got here then is the compartment where the decoder goes. And right off, I'll show you that here is the speaker. Let me zoom in just a bit for you. Okay. So right here is my sugar cube speaker. And I believe this is an 11 by 15, something on that order. And I'll show you one. This is another one here assembled. This is an 11 by 15 sugar cube speaker with an enclosure on the back of it hit. You can get these from You choose DCC in the UK, and I'm sure there are a lot of other DCC dealers in the UK that offer these Sugar Cube speakers. And I'll remind you, now these are rated at about 0.7 to 0.8 watts each, whereas this decoder that I'm installing is rated at 2 watts. So you have to make sure that you cut that master volume down to 100 in order to protect both the speaker and the amplifier on that circuit board. Now let me show you right here, if I can zoom in all the way. There are 2 wires right here, purple wires going from the speaker to this circuit board. And there are 2 pads on this circuit board right here labeled, let me get this where you can see it, that are labeled LS- and LS+. So those are your speaker contacts. So that's the only soldering you have to do, is get those soldered to those 2 solder pads. It's very small, very delicate work, but it's something that most people with a decent soldering iron with a pencil tip should be able to do by themselves. Now, at that point, let me point something else out. There is a blanking plug that would be installed here on the pins. I've already removed that a year ago or more when I bought this Locomotive, but it's fairly straightforward. You just pop it out with a pair of tweezers like this or a flat screwdriver, whatever. Then we're going to install this decoder. So it's got the 21-pin connector here. The white side goes up. So you just literally take it and put it over these pins here and gently slide it into place on top of them. It might take a couple of tries to get it to line up properly. So I'm going to fidget with it. There it is. So there, it's popped right into place on the pins. Okay, so the decoder is sitting in here. Don't try to press it down in there, bend the board, anything like that. You just need to make sure that the pins are showing through here on the top of the board where the connector is, right there. So there it is. That was the installation. Very quick, very easy to do. Then all you have to do, now one thing I'll point out, at one point I noticed that this wire here, let me see if I can zoom in a bit more. Now at one point I noticed that this wire here had gotten pinched, probably during the factory installation, and therefore I put a little piece of Kapton tape around it to protect it from shorts as well. Now another thing I want to point out about this speaker is I just installed it on its side here using a piece of 3M double-sided foam tape. And that will hold it in. You could use a little bit of black mastic, anything like that, black or blue or whatever you have, that would just hold it into this wall here. And you'll see that on the bottom of the chassis there are these perforations to let the sound out. So it's sitting on top of those, but half of them are exposed. So we've got plenty of open area for sound to get out. And the sound is also going to get up into the cabin, and because there are, if you note here, in the bottom of the cabin floor, the passenger cabin, it has perforations in the bottom of it, so sound will come up through there, and you'll have sound getting out all over the place. So that's not an issue. Let me put this back together now. Okay. So get all your wires tucked in here out of the way so that nothing gets pinched when you close it up. And you'll notice there's this nice depression that fits over top of the motor so that you can get your installation back where it was. There we go. Now, so that once that's back in place, then we're just going to reinstall our screws here at each end next to the driver. Do the other side. And it's installed. And you can see right here in this little opening, the decoder. As far as putting this back together, I have looked at this. I cannot tell the difference anymore between the two sides. I'm pretty sure that this is the front end. and this should be on this compartment should be on the right. I don't know if that's a lavatory there or if it is a closet, whatever. I believe that goes on the right-hand side of the cab or the right-hand side of the model, with this end here being the front. And back here where you've got the double doors, I believe that is the guard end. So that's the way I'm putting it back together anyway. So you just slide the body back on, pop it into place, and you're ready to try it out. So let's go ahead, move over to the layout, and we'll give it a run. And you can hear the sounds. Well, that's a wrap for today's video. If you have one of these Great Western Flying Bananas and you want to add a DCC sound decoder to it, I personally think that the Econami 21-pin version is a great option, a great way to go. There's a lot of others out there that you're going to pay a lot more for, but they offer a few more of the prototype sounds that you might want that are not offered on the Econami decoder. So that's your choice. But you know, I think it's a great deal, great option. Just about every one of my UK locomotives has an Econami decoder in it. So have a great week, and I'll see you here on Friday with another video from the DCC guy. Bye now.